Death is universal, but the way we say goodbye to the dead is anything but. Across time and continents, cultures have developed burial rituals that are deeply spiritual, incredibly creative, and at times, shocking. From hanging coffins on cliffs to preserving the dead as part of daily life, these funeral practices challenge what we think we know about death. In this episode of Watchers of the Unknown, we explore 5 of the most bizarre and mysterious burial rituals ever practiced. Rituals that reflect not only beliefs about the afterlife, but how the living cling to memory, meaning, and mystery. The hanging coffins of China and the Philippines, closer to heaven. In the steep cliffs of southern China's Sichuan province and the highlands of northern Luzon in the Philippines, the dead do not rest underground. They hang. The ancient practice of suspending coffins high above the ground, wedged into vertical rock faces, is both breathtaking and eerie. The Bo people of China and the Igorot tribes of the Philippines believed that elevation brought the soul closer to the heavens and protected the remains from wild animals, floods, and even evil spirits. Some coffins are perched so precariously that modern climbers still struggle to reach them. What's even more mysterious is how these communities, without modern equipment, managed to lift full coffins high into the cliffs hundreds of years ago. No one knows exactly how they did it. Today, many of these coffins remain untouched, weathered by time, but still clinging to rock, like ghosts suspended between life and death. The living mummies of Toraja, Indonesia, when death is not the end. In the highlands of Sulawesi, Indonesia, the Toraja people have a view of death that is unlike anything else in the modern world. To them, death is not a final moment, but a slow, sacred transition. When a person dies, the body is not buried right away. Instead, it is embalmed, dressed, and kept in the family home, where loved ones continue to talk to them, serve them meals, and honor them daily. They refer to the deceased not as dead, but as someone who is sick or asleep. Once a year, families participate in manene, a ritual where they exhume the dead, clean their bodies, replace their clothes, and even take photographs with them. These events are not somber. They are celebratory reunions between the living and the dead. To outsiders, it may seem macabre, but to the Torajans, it is a deep expression of love, memory, and the belief that death is just another part of life. 3. Self-cremation of Buddhist monks, the flame of ultimate enlightenment. In both ancient China and Vietnam, there are documented cases of devout Buddhist monks who chose to undergo self-immolation as an act of spiritual transcendence. This extreme form of voluntary death was not suicide in the traditional sense. It was viewed as the final step toward enlightenment. The process was long and agonizing. Monks would undergo years of physical and spiritual preparation, including strict meditation, fasting, and the consumption of herbs that helped preserve the body. Then, they would enter a meditative trance, often in the lotus position, and be surrounded by flames. Survivors or disciples would later collect the remains, and in rare cases, the ashes would crystallize into sarira, sacred, pearl-like relics believed to be manifestations of purity and spiritual perfection. These rituals are no longer commonly practiced, but they remain among the most extreme and mysterious burial rites in human history. A final act, not of fear, but of devotion. 4. Tree burials, becoming one with nature. Australia and Papua New Guinea. For certain indigenous tribes in Australia and Papua New Guinea, the forest is not only a place of life, it is a place of eternal rest. Here, the dead are not laid in the ground. Instead, they are placed inside hollowed-out tree trunks or tied to high branches, returning the body to the arms of nature. The belief is that the tree becomes a living grave, continuing to grow while embracing the soul of the departed. As the tree lives on, so too does the spirit, feeding the soil, the leaves, and the life around it. These ceremonies are deeply spiritual. The body is often treated with leaves, sap, or natural oils, and then carefully secured in the chosen tree. Family members may visit the tree, offer gifts, or whisper messages to the deceased, believing that the tree can listen and even speak back through the wind. To some, this may sound poetic, but to these cultures, it's more than symbolism. It's a sacred cycle of birth, death, and rebirth through nature. Turning ashes into diamonds. Immortality through technology. In Switzerland, the United States, and Japan, a new form of burial has emerged, one that combines grief, memory, and modern science. Using high-pressure, high-temperature technology, it is now possible to transform human ashes into synthetic diamonds. The process involves extracting carbon from cremated remains, then crystallizing it under extreme conditions, similar to how diamonds form in the Earth's mantle. After several weeks, a gemstone is born, often blue or clear, and fully wearable. Families can turn these memorial diamonds into rings, necklaces, or keepsakes, literally carrying their loved ones close to their heart. Every diamond is unique, just like the person it came from. Some call it beautiful, others call it eerie. But for many, it offers a sense of comfort, a way for love to live on, not as memory alone, but as something solid, shining, and eternal. V. From cliffs and flames to forests and diamonds, these burial rituals reveal something powerful about humanity. Our refusal to forget, our need to connect, and our belief that death is never the end. Whether spiritual, symbolic, or scientific, each of these customs reflects how we try to make sense of loss. Which of these rituals surprised you the most? Would you ever want your remains turned into a diamond or placed inside a tree? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Watchers of the Unknown for more mysteries that lie just beyond the veil.